All right, we will dive into our next session just to keep ourselves on time, but that was an excellent panel and a perfect segue for our next session here on exploring for gold and other metals here in central Newfoundland. So now you'll get to hear about all those wonderful projects that we've got currently on the go. My name is Melissa Render. I will be the chair for this session, and I'm the president of Newfound Gold. And I'm also going to be presenting the first project here of the session on our Queensway Gold project, which is located, I can say, just 15 minutes outside of town here to the west. Some of you may have driven by it on your way into the conference, perhaps seen some of the activities happening just off the Trans-Canada Highway at the Keats Zone. And here I'll be providing an exploration update for you today. I just need this part. So I'll dive right in. I encourage you all to visit our website. You can read this in more detail there. There's a lot of information here, and I may be making some forward-looking statements. For those who were here at last night's session, our new CEO, Keith Boyle, did an excellent job of kind of laying the providing a project overview and update. In today's presentation, I'll provide more detail on the exploration activities and programs we have currently underway and planned for 2025. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we're located here in central Newfoundland, just west of Gander, about 15 kilometers. And for those of you who have been following the story, earlier this year, at the end of March, we reached a major milestone for the company where we released our initial mineral resource estimate. So a lot of work up until this point to get that out, and I'll talk about that in a bit more later. But that's really provided us with a wealth of information that we're now using to guide our next steps in the programs I'll be talking about today. So this is a very sizable land package. Well, it spans over 110 kilometers of strike along two highly prospective major fault zones that are known to be associated with the gold mineralization on the Queensway project. And we've drilled over 600,000 meters to date, and I'll talk a bit more about where those meters have gone and what we're looking to do next. In the panel, that was such an optimistic outlook for the area, and it made me very excited just listening to everybody speak about the future here. And Darren there provided a very strong outlook for why this is such an amazing place to work for these projects to get up and running. And it's a very good reason why Newfoundland is ranked top number 10 in the world by the Fraser Institute of Mining. The access here is impeccable. The workforce, the skilled labor, the infrastructure, it really doesn't get any better than this. And of course, the support by the local communities and the government as well. So I see a very bright future here, and same with what was said there in that panel. So on that, we may have seen earlier, we've had a pretty significant change in our senior leadership team, bringing in new skills, particularly in the development space. We very much have been exploration focused up until this point. So our new CEO, for example, Keith Boyle, mine engineer, has taken several projects through pre-development to development. Robert Asabgui, our new studies manager, another mining engineer. And then I am still here as well, so I will be continuing to push exploration and geology with the company so that we can continue to do these things in parallel. Quite a big year ahead for us. We're also working through our PEA at this time, and we're looking for releasing that later in Q2 of this year. So the exploration potential. As an exploration geologist, this is a playground for myself and our team. As I mentioned earlier, I don't know if I can use the laser pointer, but we've got two regional scale faults, the Appleton Fault Zone in the west here, and the JBP in the east. And these yellow dots are the gold discoveries and prospects that you can see very much are aligned with those two regional trends. Majority of our exploration work has been focused here in what's now known as the AFZ core. That's where the majority of the ounces are being contributed in our initial resource, and where the major discoveries have been made to date, such as Keats, Iceberg, Lotto, Golden Joint. As you can see here, the project spans at 110 kilometers of strike, and majority of those discoveries have been made in the Davisville sedimentary sequence, which is this gray unit here that you can see extends well south into our Queensway South project, which is everything south of Gander Lake, which is about an additional 80 kilometers. And then last year, you may have seen that we acquired our neighboring project, the Kingsway, which we now refer to as AFZ Peripheral, which gained us another 13 kilometers of strike on the Appleton north of us. That has several discoveries there and a lot of untouched regions as well. So this year, upside focus will be mostly in the AFZ core. There's still a lot of work to be done in here. From the infill drilling, now that we have an estimate that's guiding us, we will be looking at conversion drilling, so de-risking within the open pit areas to start, converting from inferred to indicated, as well as unclassified material where the drilling spacing just wasn't quite dense enough. There's a lot of near-surface resource expansion that we'll be looking at. So now that we have these pit shapes, looking to connect and extend around those, as well as the down dip extensions on those, in addition to the underground, and of course the deep resource expansion work. Not so much a focus for this year, but last year we did get quite adventurous, putting some deeper holes into the system, just that we are in an orogenic gold system, and that was a proof of concept there to show that this thing does have roots, and we did have good indication and results there that the mineralization persists to depths of over 800 meters or so vertical. We do have big regional programs planned as well to continue to explore more grassroots type exploration at Queensway South particularly, and then the AFZ Peripheral, we are anxious to get in there drilling, which I'll talk a bit more about in future slides. But so a lot of areas that we're trying to juggle, of course, but again, still a lot of work to be done here at the AFZ core. So a bit on our initial mineral resource estimate. This here is an inclined view of the AFZ core area. So again, this is where a majority of the ounces are coming from. So you can see the Keats, Iceberg, Keats West, K2, and then the pit shapes around them. So there's a series of open pits here with underground complements, we'll say, or the underground panels. And majority of the ounces are in the indicated class. They have had drill spacing to an adequate density to get us to that level of confidence, and in the open pit. So up until now, most of our work really has been focused on that top 250 meters, hence why majority of the ounces are in the open pits. So more work certainly to be done, expanding the pits and below. But overall, we've got about 1.39 million ounces at 2.4 grams per ton in the indicated, and 610,000 ounces at 1.77 grams per ton in the inferred. So just an overview of our work programs for the year. We've currently got 4 drills turning, starting as of May 1st. They will be starting on the infill, so the conversion drilling in priority open pit areas, starting with Keats West and Lotto. And there's a reason beyond just that they're a priority, but we're also looking to excavate those areas. So we're looking to get in there, get that definition drilling done, and get out so we can move on with the excavation work. And then from there, those drills will move on to continuing to do infill infill work in parallel with some of our upside drilling or step-out drilling to work to expand the resource as well. So trying to manage the meters between those activities, but of course with the de-risking and the infill drilling as first priority on the open pits, and then transitioning to underground in certain areas as well. In addition to that, we have our regional programs starting up. So that's the boots on the ground, soils, rock sampling, mapping happening. And then we have been looking at the bulk sample planning as well. So that will be the next stage after we excavate and go through a series of steps as looking to bulk sample. This here is just a long section of the eastern side of the Appleton Fault, so you can see the pits around Keats, Iceberg, Lotto, and then those underground panels, and the locations of some of our more recent discoveries that are outside of that mineral, our initial resource. So those are places where we're looking to add and grow, and a focus for sure will be on this more shallow dome, Golden Dome area where we've had some pretty interesting results so far. So just a snapshot of the examples of some of the infill drilling. So this is that conversion drilling from inferred to indicated, where over 70% of our resource is already in the indicated, but there's still quite a bit of work. You can see here at Keats West, for example, of getting that confidence up. 60 meters has been the spacing for inferred, and 30 meters for indicated on this project. So there is some more drilling to do. This is just a plan map with the planned holes in the pits that you can see, and just the locations of Keats West and Lotto that we're working on now, but we'll be rolling through other priority pits throughout the year. And here you can just see some of the step-out drilling and infill at Golden Joint and Lotto below the open pit portions. So it's quite nice now to have these shapes, because it really helps focus the exploration efforts, see where we can add, connect, or grow some of these open pits. So examples of that is here at the AFZ core, step-out drilling. This is a plan view, inclined view of the Appleton Fault and the Golden Joint and Dome Lotto areas. I have the vein wire frames on in this image versus the block models in the other, because the gold is in these quartz veins. So this is very much important still for us from a targeting perspective, is understanding the geometries of the veins, where they're going. And here at Dome, late last year, this was one of the original discoveries in the area. We had done a bit of drilling historically, but didn't have too much success, even though there's an exceptionally high-grade, beautiful vein right at surface. We stepped down late last year and plugged into a very nice high-grade vein there. So that's only about 250 meters or so from surface, and we'll be looking to get back in there. And that's not currently in our estimate at this time, but we'd be looking to add. And same with Golden Dome, which is a new oblique structure that we've identified through here just between Golden Joint and Dome. And as you can see again in the image, it's kind of cut off here, but a lot of quartz vein, a lot of high-grade gold. So those are two areas we're quite keen to get back to. Other places we look to add, and we'll be drilling as part of this year's program, is at the AFZ peripheral. So this here is the Appleton Fault Zone. This is the AFZ core, which is where, again, majority of the resource is located, and where most of the meters have gone today. So that's 600,000 meters, and Keats and Iceberg and all those. This is the addition of that 13 kilometers, the Kingsway project that we added last year, and we completed our first drill program and had some very exciting and early success in those programs, specifically up at Dropkick, where we tagged into quite a nice high-grade vein there, and again seeing some very broad widths of mineralization that we're now just starting to incrementally step out on and piece it together. But good early indication that there is good potential along this part of the Appleton Fault, mineralization being basically identical to what we found further south, and, as you can see, just very sparsely drilled overall. The excavating, I think some of you may have been on the field trip yesterday and visited our iceberg trench as part of the conference. But over the last few years, we've been working to uncover their key zones, and this is part of a de-risking exercise. So getting greater geologic certainty on these domains as they were previously completely undercover and only have been modeled through drilling data. So being able to expose them and ensure that we've connected the veins correctly, their geometries are accurate, is a very critical step because that's what's being used to constrain the resource. And then in addition to that, being able to map them and channel sample them in detail, so getting better information on the grade variability and continuity of those veins. And then this is all will likely lead up to a potential bulk sample. So we've completed Keats. That was the first one we did. We've mapped it, channel sampled it. We uncovered iceberg last year, which some of you did visit, and we'll be looking to channel sample that this year. And then part of this year's program will be the excavations at Keats West and Lotto. So you can kind of see the pitch, the trench shapes, I should call them, on top of the mineral resource pit shapes here that we're looking to do. So we'll be doing Keats West here and Lotto, and then looking to permit K2 as the fifth area for excavation in 2026, and going through the channeling and mapping of those areas. Regional program, can't spend a lot of time on this because I'm out of time, but this is a presentation in itself. But just to highlight here, these are any of the claim mineral licenses that we will be doing work on here. Largely boots on the ground, soil sampling, which has been quite effective for us in many regions, prospecting, mapping, looking at doing a drone mag survey in the south where it makes sense because of the geology there, it's a bit different. And many of these areas do have previous targets that we're looking to continue to advance, but also add more to our target pipeline so we can get into that year by year advancement of targets, generally focused still on that Appleton corridor outside. So that's, for that future growth potential. So just looking ahead again at the year, I've mentioned most of this, but in summary, we are working on our PEA with an anticipated disclosure date of end of Q2 of this year. We've got 4 drills turning, and we're looking to add to that, but again, mostly focused on the conversion drilling in parallel with expansion drilling in the core area. And then we are looking to mob additional drills up to the AFZ peripheral to continue to tackle those near surface high grade targets like Dropkick. We will be continuing with our bulk sample planning, so a lot of work to go in there to ensure we can execute from permitting to planning to drilling. Metallurgy is ongoing, so we're rolling through all of the different areas with the metallurgy. We've worked through Keats Iceberg, Lotto, Golden Joint, got some preliminary results from Keats West, so that program's ongoing. And then as we move through the PEA, of course, more advanced engineering studies will take place. Information will be coming through, and that will continue to guide our programs for this year and into next. But the baseline studies will continue with that, and permitting as well. So that is all for me. Thank you. I should have asked, because I don't know if we actually have questions in between, or we do it all at the end. No, we do not, and I'm over time anyways. Okay, well, I will call our next speaker up to the stage here. It's Bob Patey, who is the Vice President of Exploration for Canstar Resources. Bob Patey is a professional geoscientist with 20 years of experience in the mineral exploration in Newfoundland. Canstar flagship Golden Bay project comprises of 625 kilometers square of claims with multiple high-grade gold anomalies at surface. The Mary March Base Metals project is located in Buckens in an area that has only seen modest exploration. Please welcome Bob.
Hello, thank you, Melissa. I'm going to mainly be talking about how we're going to restart the Mary March project. It's mainly critical metals, but that's used to be known as base metals. So, okay. Next one. Okay. Usual disclaimer: if you feel the need to read the whole thing in the half hour it will take, go to the website, company website. I'm going to just go through the presentation, going through some stuff about the company, and there's a recent deal that's pretty exciting, and then introduce you to what our properties, and then focus in on Mary March, what we know about it, and then what our exploration plan is to advance it this year. Okay. And CanStar consists of a pretty small team. Myself and Corwin are the geos on the ground, and we've got a finance team that's working out of the States and that, and we have Dave Murray working with us doing a lot of leapfrog modeling and some other support work. This is the exciting deal that we've recently made. We've got investment from EMS Mining, which is a private group made up of pretty much the former C-suite of Osisko and some other mining companies, and collectively they've sold a bunch of brought mining companies into prominence, and then sold them for up to 4.1 billion, or for the total of 4.1 billion, and we're hoping to help them raise that number, maybe double it. Okay. They bring with them Dr. Harold Gibson, who's a renowned VMS specialist who's been teaching at Laurentian for about 4 decades, and he's going to be intimately involved with the project and building it into a great success. Here's a bit about our properties on the island. We've got 2 on the island, the Golden Bay in blue down there on the south, and that's a large gold project, very much in the same trend as Newfound Gold's thing, with lots of veins with orogenic style and such, and we've got about 90 kilometers of the trend there and 420 square kilometers now. But this year we're mainly focusing on Mary March, which is over near Buckens. We've also got a Buckens project, Buckens part of this Buckens Mary March project that I'll deal with in the next one. This is the combined properties we have at Buckens Mary March. On the west end of it, we have about 12 square kilometers of ground right adjacent to the old mine sites at Buckens. Some of the actual underground workings extend under our claims in one spot, and we're hoping that we'll find something there. In the east, we've got Mary March, where we've got a very good drill intercept from some old exploration work there around the turn of the century. Turn of the 2000s, not 1900. Yeah. And the intercept we've got there has got, it's not just base metals, it's also got gold. We've got 4.2 grams per ton over 9.6 meters, with a combined over 12% base metals along with it. So that's another slide on Buckens. We've got package ground right next to the mine site, and we're completely surrounded by Cantera's work. And you can see in green there, that's the Buckens River Formation that hosts all of the in-situ resources that were exploited at Buckens, including and also the deposit that the Lundberg deposit that Cantera's defined. But that unit, you can see it sort of forms a big V shape to the south, and that's a syncline. Everything underneath that is also occupied by Buckens River Formation at unknown depth. So we're hoping that within that will be some more mineralization, and there's been a SkyTem survey which has the ability to see fairly deep with and detect conductivity, and we've got some anomalies beneath our property that we think are going to be meaningful there. At the moment, there's a deep IP survey going on using the Abitibi DAS Vision system, and we're expecting to be analyzing those results in August and deciding what the next step is there. Okay, Mary March, we're going to focus for the rest of the talk. We've got about 112 square kilometers there. The southern part of it there, outlined in purple, is a joint venture we have with Glencore. We're working them down from 50%. They're down around 34 now, and every dollar we spend works them down. And we're going to have 100% within the next year, we anticipate. And but we've also got a lot of ground to the north of there, which is fairly prospective, but not the most exciting ground at the moment. We're going to focus most of our work down in the Mary March area. At the very center there, we can see that sort of black arrow indicating the main area of main focus. What we've got there is a large alteration zone. In the right, it's outlined in green. On the left, at the same scale, is the mapped out alteration zones at the Buckens area. And you can see the alteration zone is sort of roughly the same size, and therefore we think it's got a similar potential, which would be fantastic. The soil data in the background is zinc in soils there. And we've also got all parts of a VMS system that you'd expect to have there. We've actually got potentially multiple. We've got altered felsic rocks, which is similar to Buckens, which are sort of associated with that intercept we're excited we had years ago. And we got also heavily altered mafic rocks, which in this case hold, we got 20 meters of 3% zinc in the altered mafics there. That's in an area about 400 meters away from the Mary March area. And then we've also got some debris flow mineralization where a VMS structure has sort of collapsed and shed all the massive sulfides into submarine debris flow that's now been exposed in our trench. And in that, we found some samples that have some good copper and some up to 4 grams of gold. 7% copper, 4 grams of gold. Okay. We've also, what we're going to do to advance our project there is spend a lot of time looking at the drill core that exists. In the past, there's been, after the initial excitement of drilling, trying to find the rest of that intercept, the CanStar and its predecessors have had a sort of a single pass approach to exploring it. It just didn't, nobody did a systematic analysis of things trying to understand the whole system. They just said, it might be there, we'll put a hole there. And that produced some more core for us to look at now. So we're going to look at all the drill core that's there. There's about 14,000 meters of core that is in our core shed, and another 1,000 or so that's up at the Buckens core archive. Those are mostly older holes. So we're going to look at that. We're going to throw everything we can at it. Harold Gibson and one of his former students, I believe, is going to be coming in to spend a few weeks looking at that core and probably getting the desire to come back. And we're going to be doing analytical work on them with hyperspectral, portable XRF, full suite lithogeochemistry, and whatever else we can think of, doing some geophysical properties of at least two sorts, mag and IP sensitivity and conductivity. That'll help us understand the structure of everything there. We're also going to do borehole EM on any of the holes that we can find. We expect that might be as many as 20, but we might only be able to do 11. There's some older borehole EM in existence there. We're going to evaluate that and see if we need to redo it as well. We're also going to do some detailed mapping. It has been done before, but we're going to just sort of put that on the shelf and just use their maps as a guide to where we can find outcrop. And to assist that project as well, we're doing a LiDAR survey, but this map shows where the outcrops are in the area from those old mapping projects, and we're going to hopefully use, and from the sampling from this, we're going to get a lot of samples that will be treated the same way as the drill core. and build up a big database. Also going to do some trenching. You can see on the maps so far, I've had a set of lines there in this one there in red. Those are the surface traces of faults that have been mapped in the drill core to date. And we're going to try and target those with trenches so we can look at the fault surface and get some knowledge of the kinematics on it. Not only on what surface did it move, but in which direction did it go. And the background here is a mag map done at 100-meter spacing. So that'll sort of lead to the next one of airborne geophysics. We're going to, there was a SkyTem survey, the same one that occurred at Buckens done in 2017, that covered some small parts of the property. And in green there is a very distinctive anomaly showing up in one of the channels, and that's directly beneath the location where we found that debris flow with the highly mineralized clasts in it. And so we're expecting that to be a very good target, but it's truncated at either end by the edges of the survey. So we're hoping to refly this area with a similar system with the capability of resolving that to depth and find out if that anomaly extends all the way down to Mary March or if there are other anomalies down there. We expect there'll be something, and we'll do that. In addition to the SkyTem-like survey, we're going to be doing a high-resolution mag survey over the area where we've got most drilling, and that ought to help us connect the dots of the structures in that. And we're also going to do a LiDAR survey that'll, again, help us with locating more outcrops, analyzing structure, and hopefully give us a nice upper surface for our 3D modeling as well. Okay. And just to summarize it all together here, we're going to be mainly focusing on 3D mapping of the system, both the lithology and the alteration zoning. And that'll give us a good understanding of where the what the patterns are within each fault block. And then we can hopefully shift along the fault block to see where things connect and put together the pieces of a big massive sulfide system that we know where one piece is, where are the rest of them. That's going to be achieved through all the different tools that we're going to apply to all the samples that we get from whatever method we can, old core, new core, trenching, outcrop samples, and that. We're also going to do using magnetic geophysics to work towards the same end. That'll help us, there will be a different character to different units, and that'll allow us to connect them up in that way. And we're doing, the EM geophysics will detect the conductive minerals, but one of the problems in the Buchan system is that one of the main minerals in the system, salarite, is non-conductive, so you won't be able to directly detect that when we have it as a main constituent, but it will help us find the other parts of the system that do have pyrite or chalcopyrite, and from our knowledge of how VMS systems work, we can position the salarite-rich ones in the correct location relative to that, and that's going to do that. So, and after all of that, we're going to end up with some new drill targets. Hopefully by late summer, we'll be starting to resolve those, and ideally we'll have some sort of directly detected conductivity anomalies, but we're also going to be using other tools like the alteration vectoring from the hyperspectral and other and geochemical analysis, and analyzing structures and all that. So that'll build us some drill targets, and hopefully within a year we'll be doing the rest of the next time I'll be talking about the early drill results at CIM in the fall. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Bob, for that. Great update on CanStar. So our next presentation is going to be given to us by Tim Froud, President and CEO and Director of Sokoman Minerals. Tim Froud is a graduate of Memorial University of Newfoundland. He has been active in the mineral exploration business for over 30 years and is directly responsible for the discovery of the Valentine Lake gold deposit. Sokoman Minerals' primary focus is its flagship Moosehead project along the central Newfoundland gold belt and the district-scale Fleur-de-Lis project targeting orogenic gold mineralization. Please welcome Tim. Thank you.
Well, hello again, everybody. I want to thank the organizers for this opportunity to give this update on our flagship project, the Moosehead Gold Project, which is pretty much just over the hill from Melissa's Queens Bay project. Just an editorial note here. I see I didn't have a chance to replace, where's the pointer? Oh, there it is there. Our previous mines minister, who I thought did a great job, and I haven't had a chance to meet the new guy yet, but I'm sure he'll do a great job. Thank you. Yeah, Newfoundland's leading discovery company. That's a big word to. That's a lot of big words to put in one line, but I believe we have done a great job with the team we have, and I want to thank the guys that are here with me: Brian Bursey, Rick Crocker, and Ryan Newman. Couldn't do it without you guys, and. But we're primarily a gold-focused company, Moosehead being our flagship. You see Fleur-de-Lis there as well. It's another project we're up and coming. And along the way, when you've got good prospectors, sometimes you bring home things that you don't quite expect. And as a result, we're spinning out a new lithium company that hopes to be trading in the next couple of weeks at Killick. So, but today I'm going to be talking about Moosehead, our flagship property. My lawyer says I have to put this in there in case I say something remotely optimistic. But if you can't be optimistic in this business, you shouldn't be in this business. As I mentioned, we've got a smattering of projects throughout the island. We are focused in Newfoundland and Labrador. Moosehead, of course, being our flagship. It's about 50 kilometers, I guess, along the Trans-Canada Highway from the Queensway. And along the same structure to the southwest of us, we have, of course, Valentine Lake, soon to be in commercial production and a big milestone for the province. Just to summarize, I guess, what we've done in the past 5 or 6 years, yeah, it's been that long at Moosehead. But first of all, and I heard a couple of people talk about infrastructure. You really can't put a price, and really you can, but that's just a play on words, on infrastructure and how important it is to the development of projects. We have the Trans-Canada Highway cutting through the north end of the property. We're an hour's drive away from the assay lab and drilling companies. And of course, in real estate, just as in real estate, of course, location is very important in the mining world as well. And we are on the same trend as the aforementioned Valentine Lake project. The model we're using, and I think it fits admirably, is one of the Fosterville gold deposit, a high-grade gold system in Australia. And I do believe that also applies to the Queensway project. And to date, we've spent probably close, I think Ryan filed the latest assessment report, so we're probably closer to $28 million in total expenditures, largely in drilling and assaying costs, because we've drilled a lot of nice core over the years. And we've defined 7 gold zones, all of which remain open, and high grade developed in every zone. It's not just a one-hole wonder. So to date, plus or minus 130,000 meters drilled in 672 holes. And what I'm here to talk to you mostly about today is our 2 bulk samples. And if you really want to know why we're taking 2 bulk samples, well, you better stay where you're seated for the next 10 minutes. The first will be a conventional drill, blast, and truck, approximately 1,000 cubic meters of material from our western trend zone, a zone that was initially defined by previous operators, Altius Minerals, back in the early 2000s. And a second bulk sample using a very new technology, proudly and partially locally developed by a bunch of Newfoundlanders, Alan Cram being prominent among those, with Nova Mira, and that'll be later in this fall. So briefly on geology, regional geology, here is that major regional break that we all talk about, the Valentine Lake Shear Zone. Of course, anchored at the northeast end by the Queensway project, and just over the hill from that is our Moosehead project here, and we've got 2 other minor projects that we've been nursing along. The East Alder project has been optioned to Cantera, and they're working that along, and we're currently doing some boot and hammer work on our Crippleback Lake property. Again, Crippleback is kind of interesting in that it has the exact same geological setting as Valentine Lake. Major structure cutting an older, similar age monzonitic intrusion to the Valentine Lake deposit, and with a few sniffs of gold around it. And of course, down at the southwest end, about 130 kilometers away, is the Valentine Lake project. Quickly on to the mineralized trends. Most of these we've defined in the period since 2018 when we acquired the property from Altius. Most of our drilling has been on the main 3 trends we have here, 4 trends actually. The little yellow guy here is the footwall splay, and I'll talk about the footwall splay in a bit more detail later, as it will be the site of our second bulk sample. It's a small zone, but it's a very amenable zone of mineralization to test with Allen's technology. And of course, our conventional bulk sample will be taken from the western trend. So in section looking north, here we see most of our main zones all have a very sort of related or similar type of plunge with a moderate to low, not steep, but moderate dip to the east. You're looking north here, so to the east will be right. And they all have pretty much the same sort of structural trend, although not evident in this picture. The South Pond and Western trend zones do seem to have a bit more of an east-west sort of trend to them, which could be something that will lead to more discoveries as we work further to the west. I mentioned, just to repeat, Moosehead being a true high-grade orogenic system. This is a list of our top 25 holes. And as I also mentioned earlier, it's not just a single zone that's delivering high grades. We have received multi-ounce material from pretty well every zone that we've defined on this project. And again, it's a characteristic, I think, of the type of deposit that we're chasing, which is the Fosterville mine in Australia. Obviously, a few more nuggets of gold in the Fosterville sample, but we can just blame that up to the nugget effect, as we say in the business. But again, very similar style of mineralization, these orogenic quartz veins with antimony sulfides associated with high-grade gold. Infrastructure, I mentioned that earlier, and here we are. Here's the Trans-Canada Highway. Sorry, we'll go back. The Trans-Canada Highway, Route 1 here. We've got the Bay d'Espoir Highway. Most of the property has been logged off at some point in the past, and we focused the bulk of our exploration over a 2-kilometer by, say, 1-kilometer wide corridor in the middle that I'll get into here. A little closer. So luckily, again, infrastructure is playing a major assistance to us in our efforts here, with an access road that basically starts at the Exploit River Motel, heading south through old cutovers to the site of our proposed conventional bulk sample here, and our second sample with Nova Mira here, just a bit to the east. So just at Christmas, we finished the program basically defining in a little better terms the true extent of the western trend. It was a zone that we had looked at earlier on in our programs, but we kind of wandered away from it when we got distracted by other areas. It was easy to do back in those days. There seemed to be high grade in every 5th hole we drilled. But anyway, we have proved that what we thought was originally a very shallow deposit at the western trench actually does continue to some depth and may actually be a candidate at some point down the road for the surgical mining. But as you can see, some quite handsome grades, 70 grams over 4.85. And the little inset map you see here will be the next slide. This is basically where we're going to take our conventional bulk sample. So that's Mr. Rick Crocker down there washing away gold, I think, and hopefully lots of it. We'll get that later on. But this is an example of what we have seen in pretty well all of our zones, a complex vein system, often with multi-directional quartz stringers and splays. Let me see the next slide. Yeah, here. So here's a drone image of what you were just looking at, along strike. So basically, the yellow outline is what we intend to take, hopefully most of that as our bulk sample. And you can see the very complex nature of these vein systems and how sometimes 25 meter space drill collars can be a dangerous game when you've got basically 20 meters of what you see there, and then it doesn't end. In fact, the vein does extend up to the north, and we have drilled it up to the north. In fact, that 69 grams over 4 meters is an undercut of a zone that would be of the extension of the zone, which would be somewhere up around this area. So, but for this purpose, the bulk sample will consist of that area you see there, which returned a weighted average grade of just under 6 grams from about 40 channel samples that we cut across this zone last fall. This is a slide I borrowed from Novamira's website. It's a schematic cartoon of basically their technology in action. And as we will be using this technology, we are working on a final agreement to collect this bulk sample. We should have that signed within the coming weeks. And yeah, basically what you see here is a steeply dipping quartz vein that's been modeled in part. You see the blue hatched areas. The technology that Novamira encompasses actually models the veins in 3 dimensions, so you actually get to see the dips and the curves. And then they bring in the big drill, which is a converted oil and gas rig, to drill essentially a 2 meter wide, 2 meter diameter hole that it grinds as it goes down. So it's basically an RC type thing, and the sample comes to surface through this hose here into a catchment container there, and then your material is already crushed, so there's no waste rock, there's no tailings, and your sample is processed wherever your processing plant is. In our case, it will be off-site. So in terms of environmental, it's top rate. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. And we should hopefully have this rig sitting on our property later this fall, whenever it's done with Great Atlantic Resources. They have it coming, I think, in June. And once it's done taking a bulk sample for those guys, it'll move over to our ground. And I'm quite excited about this because it will focus. It's made for narrow vein mines, narrow vein quartz vein systems. And of course, Moosehead, being exactly that, is a classic candidate for this type. So at the end of the day, we'll have 2 distinct types of bulk samples to compare cost analysis to, recovery, of course, the impact on the environment, both of them. And at the end of the day, hopefully come up with the best way to move forward with the Moosehead project. So just to summarize, June, July, at some point, we're not quite sure of the start date as we're still trying to finalize a place to actually process our sample. We do have a permit to collect it, but right now we don't have a site as such to process the sample. We're working on that. Drill and blast, local contractors should take 3-4 weeks, maybe a bit longer, depending. And then truck the material to a processing site. Hopefully that will remain in Newfoundland. And then whatever reclamation is required to keep it safe. We don't intend to reclaim this entirely because there'll still be gold, near surface gold in the ground there that we're probably going to want to go back and get at some point. But whatever reclamation is necessary, we will do. And then, of course, for Alan's rig with Novamira in the fall, September, October, not quite sure, whenever they're done with Great Atlantic. Again, prepare a site for extracting, truck to processing site, and any required reclamation beyond that. So it will be a pivotal year for Sockman in terms of we're going to bring this project not just from a drilling. At some point, you have to stop drilling and do something. So this is a very important step for us. I'm very excited about it, and yeah, look forward to updating everybody in the fall, hopefully with some good results and maybe a little block of gold to show off at the same time. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Tim. Yeah, a lot of similarities there between the Moosehead mineralization and what we've got at Queensway. All right, our next speaker is Exploration Manager Alison Dines at Firetail. Alison Dines is an exploration geologist with 13 years in junior mining, working across various commodities and deposit types. She has extensive experience with rare earths, gold, copper, lithium, and other deposit types across Australia. Firetail are focusing on the Skyline Copper Project, an advanced copper, zinc, silver project with drill-defined resources, located in a region seeing renewed exploration activity from companies like Firefly Metals and Omega. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, my name's Alison Dines. I'm from Australia. We're Firetail. We're an ASX-listed exploration company, and we're actually exploring in Western Newfoundland, not Central Newfoundland, so thank you for the invitation to speak anyway. We're also focused in Peru as well, and there are a few slides about Peru in this presentation, but I'll mostly try and stick to Newfoundland. Usual disclaimers, there may be forward-looking statements. It's not investment advice. So who are we? We've got 3 geologists as directors. Robert Jewson, he's got quite a lot of experience in corporate transactions across the globe. Our managing director, Glenn Poole, who can't be here today. He's come from bigger companies like BHP and Northern Star in Australia and moved into the junior space about 3-4 years ago. And Simon Lawson as well. He's the executive chairman of Spartan Resources. He just had a transformational deal with Ramelius, a $2.48 billion Australian dollar takeover. So we've got a $24 million market cap, 380 million shares on issue, and about $2.7 million cash in the bank. We did a $3 million placement in February this year. So what are the key value drivers for us? We're trying to find new copper discoveries in Newfoundland and in Peru. We think they're 2 of the world's best jurisdictions. I don't need to tell anyone here that Newfoundland is great. We already heard about it in the panel discussion before. We're looking at the district scale out at Skyline now. It's where the York Harbour property is. A lot of the previous work is focused around just the York Harbour mine, but we're trying to take a step back and try and find more pods of mineralisation, not just what's been looked at so far. We're also targeting Tier 1 porphyries in Peru. We got selected to be part of the BHP Explore program this year, which is $500,000 money to contribute towards exploration as well as their technical expertise. And we've got a management team with a strong track record of success with mergers and acquisitions, a good balance sheet following the recent capital raise. So I'll mostly try and focus on Skyline. So we think it's a high-grade opportunity. It's an advanced copper, zinc, silver project. There's drill-defined mineralisation. Before we came along, there'd been extensive drilling around the old mine site. York Harbour Metals did 122 drill holes. We followed up with 5,000 metres of drilling last year. It's a very mining-friendly jurisdiction here. We love how streamlined all of the permitting is. Good access, good workforce. Everyone's said it already today. So we're looking at a Cyprus-style VMS, the original copper deposit. So the geological setting and the stratigraphy of Skyline is just the same as in Cyprus. Our target is about 17 million tonnes at 4.5% copper, just like the largest of the Cyprus-style deposits. We've got mineralisation hosted in massive sulfide lenses, and they're in pillow basalt sequences. 100,000 tonnes of historical production, 3 to 12% copper, 7% zinc, and 1 to 3 ounce per tonne of silver. That was 1898 to 1913. Pretty limited exploration since the 1990s until York Harbour Metals came along in 2021. But the 110 kilometre square land package we've got around the old mine is where we think the real value is. Not much work's been done since the 60s. and previous targeting was really old school methods and pretty ineffective. So we're now trying to come up with a new targeting strategy based off more recent geophysics and more modern exploration techniques. We did have some pretty significant drill results over the last few years with your carbon metals, and then again with us, 29 metres at 5.3% copper. We had 28.5 metres at 1.4% copper last year. So we know there's copper in the system, we just want to find more of it outside of the old mine. So we've been doing a lot of generative geophysics. We've been looking at IP. We've seen that IP shows high chargeability with low resistivity, where the massive and semi-massive sulfide zones are. We did the first property-wide airborne EM survey last year. We covered the northern half of the property until the weather delayed us, so we're doing the southern half of the property later this year. We've got ground-based 3D IP plan to start this month. There was 2D IP done 2022, but we found that it's quite shallow, and we really need the resolution to see where the massive pods of sulfide are. We're also going to be doing drone mag over new target areas that were generated during the EM last year. So we're really using the data to drive our drill targeting moving forward. The previous IP was reinterpreted by Southern Geoscience consultants based in Australia. We also use that data with our drilling data that we captured last year. We did downhole conductivity and downhole mag-sus. We also did petrophysics on our core so that we can try and see, well, what's the signature of what we're actually getting out of the ground versus the signature of what we're seeing in the regional geophysics. So out of all of that, we've got a new target, the governor's target, which is on the opposite side of the interpreted syncline. So you've got, I think, oh, no, wrong button. So here you've got the old York Harbour mine, and we're finding the same signature in the geophysics on the other side of the syncline. So we've got the high resolution 3D IP survey planned over this, starting this month, and drone magnetics over the entire sequence, which should start this month as well. And that there is about 1,200 metres long and 400 metres wide. So it's a pretty significant system. I'll just briefly run through Peru. So we got selected for BHP Explore program this year, $500,000 equity-free exploration, and access to their technical support as well, and their business building skills too. So we've got an in-country team there that mostly manages that, good government and community relations, and established camp. We're targeting intrusion-related copper deposits, porphyries, epithermals, CRD systems. We're using the BHP funding to do property-wide gravity surveys, detailed drone magnetics, geochronology and geochemical vectoring. And we've already got a new target identified through some of this work already. And drill permitting, which should be approved in June, so we'll be able to drill later this year. That's a bit of a conceptual model of what we're looking for, just the normal porphyry style and epithermal style mineralisation that you see in the Andes. So, what have we got coming up the next few months? Airborne magnetics this month. Ground geophysics is the IP this month. We've had Bugden Exploration out doing prospecting for us the last few weeks and finding some pretty cool rocks, so that's pretty exciting. All of that will be feeding into a phase 2 diamond drilling program later in the year. And then the southern area of our permit will have airborne EM done over it as well to continue what we started last year. So why do we think we're good? Well, we've got a pretty good land holding, pretty prospective geology with potential to host significant mineral deposits, high potential targets with refined strategies based on data. We're a team of geologists. We want to do things based on science. A proven team with a history of discovery and delivering shareholder value through strategic initiatives. And we've got BHP backing us as well. And while that money is going into our Peruvian project, we get access to their technical expertise in other ways and business and operational excellence. They're trying to build the company, not just the Peruvian project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Allison. Yeah, very interesting property play that I actually didn't know much about. So yeah, wishing you guys some success this year. All right, our last speaker of the session is the VP of Exploration, Crispin Pike with Firefly Metals. Crispin Pike, the company's VP in Newfoundland, has extensive experience in exploration through roles that have taken him across North and South America. The Green Bay Copper Gold Project is located in Bay Verte District of Northeast Newfoundland, Canada. The province of Newfoundland and Labrador has been recognized as the top 4 global mining investment jurisdictions. Please welcome Crispin. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. As Melissa mentioned, my name is Crispin Pike. I'm the VP of Exploration for Firefly Metals, not Firetail. Got a few jokes written in there, but I'm going to leave that alone there for now. But welcome to the province. And yes, there's definitely an influx of attention to Newfoundland and Labrador from Australian listed companies, with over 5 ASX companies now exploring on the island. And I think a big part of that is the success that we've had with our Green Bay project. Has made quite a splash over there, and you know, we've done a good job of promoting Newfoundland, and we welcome the investment from other exchanges. You know, the title of my slide there, Exploring from the Shoulders of Giants, there's a couple of interpretations of that. Of course, there's been a strong mining history here in Newfoundland and Labrador, and there's been so much great work, and I think the key to driving forward and driving success in Newfoundland and Labrador is leveraging the historic work. So we're going to talk about that, and of course the word giant, you know, we're looking for big deposits that are going to have impact to the economy, and I think Ming Mine is shaping up to be a giant right now with almost 3 kilometers of downstrike down plunge extent. So I've got a slide there to just show the size and scale of Ming Mine. We're a dual-listed company on the ASX as well as on the TSX. So some of the joys of that is not just 2 listings, but also 2 pages of forward-looking statements. So here we go. 3, actually. So who are we and what do we do? Firefly Metals. We're an ASX-listed junior explorer who recently listed on the TSX. Our market cap is around $500 million, and you know, a lot of that is based off of our Green Bay copper project, which is located on the Bay Verte Peninsula. I'm sure a lot of people here in the room have worked at Bay Verte in some capacity, maybe as a summer student, or might have been a decade-long career in Bay Verte. Of course, it is, you know, along with Buckens, it's the core and center of the mining industry on the island of Newfoundland, and that's where we're set up. I'm not going to go through too much through the actual Ming Mine project. Our CEO, Darren Cook, who is here with us today, he'll be presenting the details on the project, but what I'm going to focus on is the regional exploration and what the opportunities are for regional exploration. So, you know, not even 2 years ago when we acquired the project, one of the big things was to consolidate a land package so we can, you know, treat this as a district-scale exploration play. Of course, we have our main anchor in the Ming Mine, but we're looking to find additional resources to kind of feed into that long life of mine project that'll, like, you know, feed the province and feed the mill and feed the community with success. So here we are in Bay Verte, and I'll let Darren to talk to the project. But I can't help but just share a little bit on Ming Mine. Of course, we've been very busy drilling. We have 6 drills underground currently with the goal of proving up the resource so we can do the study work and expand the project. So you can see some of the numbers from our drilling. You know, we have 2 main zones. We have the high-grade copper-rich and gold-rich VMS zone. And some of the intersections that we have in this zone is, you know, 10 meters at 12% copper equivalent, which it really just is copper and gold. So we see the 9% copper and 3.6 grams. And then we have a broad footwall zone, which is the feeder zone to the high-grade VMS. And this is more attuned to a bulk mining method where we have intersections. This is from a recent drill release that we just put out with 86.3 meters at 3.7% copper equivalent. And, you know, these are significant thicknesses and grades and very continuous mineralization. This is from our most recent press release that we had. We're also doing in-mine exploration to extend the known resource. So we're drilling down plunge further than has ever been intersected You can see the resource boundary in the vertical dotted line, and we're trying to extend that known mineralization down plunge, as well as increase the confidence in our resource through infill drilling to get it from inferred to indicated. But if you look at the down plunge mineralization, we have 2 new holes that we just released, 25.8 meters at 5.1% copper equivalent in the VMS, and the footwall there continues as well. In these holes, we did bore hole EM, which is a great way to kind of get a gauge on how far this mineralization continues. But we're fairly deep here, and we have 2 big loops on surface, a double loop, trying to charge that up as much as we can so we can see the down plunge mineralization in the geophysics. But we have at least an additional 700 meters of down plunge conductivity that's yet to be tested. So I think it's safe to say that once you add up all the down plunge extent right from surface, we're looking at a cross-section here through the lower footwall in red, the upper massive sulfide in the beige color, and the green is the down plunge conductivity. And we're looking at 3 kilometers of down plunge extent. So this is a giant. This is a massive VMS deposit up there with Buckens and some of the largest VMS deposits in Canada. So we're blessed to have this asset. The team is doing hard work defining it. We've got a long road. We did file our EA, and we're looking to progress on all fronts, including permitting, resource work, studies work, and actually hoping to get this built. So just like the opportunity exists within the mine, the opportunity exists regionally. And I think we did a good job of consolidating the ground. A lot of this ground has been patchwork for a long time with various prospectors holding small pieces. But what the plan was is to really prove that this is a mining camp. And you can see our 3 main packages of ground here in orange. This is the claims in and around the Ming mine, and that's the Packet Harbor Group. In green, we have our Till Cove package, which we optioned or purchased from Signal Gold, which hosts the past producers Till Cove and Betts Cove copper gold-rich VMSs. In and around Ming Mine, there's also past producers such as Main Mine, East Mine, Big Rambler Palm Mine that all produced copper and gold in the past. And then, of course, down in the Springdale Peninsula, we have a significant landholding in the Luscious Bites Formation, which hosts past producers like Whalesback and Little Deer, which still hosts significant VMS resources. So it's a great portfolio. This is a lot of land, but the key thing here is trying to unlock the opportunity to drive discovery. And there has been an immense amount of great work done, and there's an immense amount of history. And I think that's really, if you look at the phases of exploration in Canada, specifically for VMS, post-war, electromagnetics were first invented, and a lot of those big discoveries at Kidd Creek were made in that first pass. The second pass was kind of in the 80s, when companies like Noranda, Falconbridge, Inco, and other big Canadian explorers really did excellent detailed geology. But it was shallow penetrating, they used shallow penetrating geophysics, really good geology, in order to unlock the next wave of discoveries. And we saw that here in Newfoundland with the majority of our discoveries being made by companies like Noranda doing that extremely detailed geology work. And then the third phase is using modern technology like integrating data, 3D modeling, deep penetrating geophysics. Newfoundland hasn't had that third phase of modern systematic exploration on a regional scale in our belts. And I think that's the opportunity. Is to leverage modern methods and use that to drive discovery. Just a little bit about exploring from the shoulders of giants, all this amazing history that we've had over the last 100 years. Till Cove was the biggest copper producer in North America in the early 1900s, and it's just amazing to see these old pictures where the towns were built around the mines and these people lived to get this high-grade copper out of the ground. 10 million tons came out of Till Cove, and no one knows what the grade was, but I would imagine the bulk of it was fairly high. Betts Cove, another past producer. This is the first time I saw pictures of the actual town of Betts Cove. Of course, this is all gone now, but another great past producer of high-grade copper, gold-rich VMS deposits. And Till Cove shares a similar history of great work done, but large-scale, systematic regional belt exploration using modern technologies just hasn't been there. Lots of great geologists, lots of great ideas, and all this lives in the historic records for us to catch up on. Here's a picture from either the 60s or the 70s at Ming Mine. Of course, room and pillar mining. You can see this is massive sulfide, these pillars that were left behind here, and pretty big stopes. So it's interesting to see that. And that's the old boundary shaft head frame and the engineering office. So I think for a lot of us that were born after 1980, we've never worked in an environment where you go into a room and there's no computers, but everyone's on drafting tables. So the engineers and geos would have been busy, planning their stopes in an office like that. So it's been a rich history right from the 1800s up through the 60s and 70s to modern day, but we want to take it to the next level. The big thing, I was surprised. So I just started less than a year ago, and where Firefly is new to the project, this is really the first year that we have a regional exploration budget and a regional exploration team. So we put a team together, and the big thing is when you first show up on a project like this is to get the drill hole file and filter out on copper greater than 1. No drill hole file. A robust data compilation was never completed in this area, which is such an amazing opportunity. When I started to dig into it, we found so many files, digital files through the government. We went down to the Nugget Pond Mill. There was boxes of papers and in the vaults. So it was a lot of work just to get everything in one place. But we did hire it out to a data science team that can really go through this and get the value out quickly so we can generate targets from this. So this is a knowledge density map from the digital data that we had to after this initiative for data compilation. We compiled 294 drill holes, 5,000 rows of lithology data, assay data, structural data, channel samples, surface 1,700 rock chips. We couldn't even take the grab samples and filter those on copper greater than 1. There's been teams that have done small little pieces of the compilation, but we're going to be the first people that's going to get all the available data for in and around Ming Mine and load it up digitally in one place, which is, I'm so lucky to be in that space to be able to see that data. Of course, once we get all our data in good condition, it's amenable to using machine learning and not just machine learning, but doing good geologically based targeting and ranking. And that's key, is to get all our data in good place, collect new data, integrate the data, and do the targeting and ranking, and drill. We have the support from the board, from the market, from our shareholders to do extensive diamond drilling to drive the discovery. And that's what's needed here is to integrate the data and do the drilling. And we have really good drill targets. We've had a diamond drill rig on surface now turning since January, as well as ground geophysics crews continuously surveying since January, including borehole EM on every hole that we drill, and large modern EM as well. Just to get a little bit into the modern technology, we talked to digital data compilation. Last year, we did fly airborne VTEM survey. We did a different flight line orientation that was more perpendicular to our mineralization of previous kind of patchwork surveys that were done, but this is the first complete area over the Packet Harbor volcanics with VTEM, and that hasn't been released yet to market, but our team is working on interpreting and the targeting on that, but it's a great tool. Of course, this is copper-rich, gold-rich VMS, and it's fairly hot, and it does have pyrrhotite. So most of the mineralization, like the drilling that we've been doing around existing resources, when we do borehole EM, it does have a great response. So electromagnetics, I think, is the tool of choice for us in our package of rocks. The time domain EM on the ground, I'm running a little short on time, but just to speak to, I think, the powers of using deep penetrating ground EM to make a discovery in this belt. Like, obviously, there's been so many people walk over this ground, and like I just did the tour yesterday with Melissa at Newfound Gold, and in 2017, the Geological Survey did a short course right there, and we walked right down that road, and we had about 20 geos, 20 prospectors, profs from university, survey geologists, and we walked right over iceberg, basically, and it's unbelievable. It blew my mind when I saw it there all stripped off. It's hard to find these things. It's hard to find these things. And when, these they're advanced camps, yes, Buckins, Bayvert, there's been a lot of work done, but there's still so much potential. I lived in northern Manitoba in 2005 when they made the discovery at Lawler Lake. My buddy sold his house there for $11,000 because the town was dead. And, they went back in after everything is closed, and they did ground EM, fixed loop ground EM, and they found Lawler Lake 500 meters blind, right next to Chisholm Mine. And you know, this can happen in any belt. These deposits don't form as one-off deposits. There's multiple lenses along these VMS trends, and we need to use the best tools we can. So this is just an example of one of our targets. The red and pink squares are VTEM plate models that were modeled from the VTEM, and then this shows what a ground EM survey is going to do to follow this up. A lot of the time you get footwall type pyrite mineralization that has broad extents. So you could get a plate that's 600 meters by 600 meters that you model from airborne, put a hole in it, hit some pyrite and say, oh, well, it's just footwall style mineralization. There's no massive there. But what we really need to do is get in with the ground geophysics, do the detailed work, drill the targets, and then if we don't, the chances of getting massive sulfide off the hop are pretty slow, and that's where the detailed geology comes in, and we're building up that knowledge on the alteration mineralogy to help us vector in on these targets. But there's so many good high-quality diamond drill targets. We've just started. We don't have any results to show you today, but keep your eye out. When we do get exciting results from the regional program, we will be putting those in our ASX releases. Also, of course, we have the show in November, and I'm sure we'll have some interesting news on the regional upside of the project to put forward at CIM. So thanks everyone for coming, and if you have any questions, you can pop by our booth and look at our beautiful core that we have there from Ming Mine. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Crispin. It sounds like some very exciting exploration upside there, and it's great to see you guys putting it all together in that way and really driving the exploration. So that concludes our session for today on exploration for gold and other metals. So thank you all for coming out. Have a great afternoon.